My name is Evan Oxner, and thanks for being an Amherst Wesleyan Church mobile site. Here at AWC, we aim to be down-to-earth people following Jesus in down-to-earth ways. We do that by searching boldly and only doing what matters while striving to get better and better. Today we're learning about the need to recognize thieves and shepherds, and that we need to recognize the difference and recognize thieves and shepherds in our lives. We're so glad that you've decided to join us today to worship with us in the Word and in song and in giving. And we give because we believe that God is able to do far more with our money than we are on our own. And if you're in the place where God is calling you to give to AWC, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can do that through the mail or through our tithing envelopes. You can do it through an e-transfer, or you can do it through our Tithely app. Now, if you're just checking us out or God is calling you to give someplace else, feel absolutely no pressure to give to AWC. We just want you to know that God is calling you to give somewhere, and we want you to give somewhere. Couple of announcements before we get into everything else here today. Number one is we have a membership class coming up on March 27th, and we have a special work day coming up on Saturday, March 20th, and that's from 9 a.m. until noon. And we're going to be working on a number of different projects here in the church. Some of it will be painting, some of it will be cleaning, some of it will be some maintenance. And if you are able to be part of that, want to join and be part of that, come on out. We can use all the help we can get. I mean, we have to observe all of the restrictions and keep everybody separated, but there's a lot of work to be done, and we want to do it together as much as possible. And so if you're able to make it to the work day, please come on out. That's Saturday, March 20th. And then we have a membership class on Saturday, March 27th. Well, let's join our hearts in worship and focus on how we need to recognize the thieves and the shepherds in our lives.
Amazing love that welcomes me, the kindness of mercy that bought with blood wholeheartedly, my soul undeserving. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. You're so good to me. Behold the cross, age to age, and hour by hour. The dead are raised, the sinner saved, the work of your power. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. You're so good to me. And should this life bring suffering, Lord, I will remember what Calvary has bought for me, both now and forever. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. You're so good to me. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. You're so good to me.
Well, today we are talking about recognizing thieves and shepherds. So to start off, we're going to go to a very important passage of the Bible, John chapter 10. John is one of the four Gospels. You go to the New Testament of your Bible, and you've got Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. John is the fourth one, and he's got a little bit different perspective on some events than Matthew, Mark, and Luke. They're all, we believe them to be all true. He's just got a little bit different perspective on a couple things. And so we're going to John chapter 10, and Cheryl's going to read to us verses 7 to 10. And then we got lots to chat about. So,
okay.
John chapter 10.
All right, starting at verse 7. Therefore Jesus said again, I tell you the truth, I am the gate for the sheep. All who ever came before me were thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. He will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full.
All right, excellent. So this is, if you've been around the Bible for a while, this passage may be familiar to you. If it's not, don't worry about it. But we're going to be spending the entire month actually talking about this passage and digging into what does a thief do and what does a shepherd do, and understanding how do we deal with that, and what does that mean, and what kind of difference can it make in our lives?
Yeah.
And really, we get this perspective here that thieves steal, kill, and destroy, and the shepherd gives life. Now, we may interact with thieves or shepherds in our own lives, just in the people around us. That there can be people in our lives who we think might be a shepherd, but they're actually a thief, or we think are a thief and they actually are a shepherd. And when it boils down to it, you can kind of look at them and figure out what's going on. You may have interacted with thieves, in that maybe you grew up going to a church, you dealt with a pastor or a leader or somebody that was there, and they constantly asked more and more and more and more of you, but there didn't seem to be any fulfillment in it, and it seemed to be all about them, or it didn't seem like you were actually feeling rewarded, and not that you would like get paid for it, but right? I mean, you're serving, right? And that's the thing of serving. But when you serve and you serve the shepherd, there's a reward to it that feels good.
It's not empty.
Right. It makes you feel good, and there's something to it. And you may have been put in this place where they were constantly asking and asking and asking, and it just felt empty. Or maybe you brought up questions and you looked at what they were doing and you're like, what? This is a little sketchy here. How are we using our money? What's going on? And you either got avoided or you got kicked out, or maybe you had questions about theology, and because you even had those questions, you got kind of ostracized or whatever. We sometimes deal with these people just in our everyday relationships, and these are the people that tend to monopolize our time and again, not really give back to us.
Yeah.
Or they may be the people that they start driving wedges between you and other people because they want you all to themselves, or because they don't want you to spend time with somebody else, and they might not even want time with you, but they just don't want you to have time with anybody else. Those people. And sometimes it's you come up in these situations where you're dealing with people who constantly, for one reason or another, they are appealing to us, but they constantly put us down or rob us of value and worth. And I don't know if it's because we just feel like we have to, because they don't like us, we have to earn their love, or because we admire them because they're in a position of authority or something. But we see them, and all they end up doing is they make us feel bad. They make us feel horrible. They kind of beat us down. And we interact with these thieves, but it can be difficult to figure out which is a thief and which is a shepherd. And basically what it boils down to is a thief is going to take more than he gives, and a shepherd is going to give more than he takes.
Yeah.
A shepherd's going to ask for something, right? But what he's given us is going to be far more than what he's taking. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of had something happen that at first I thought maybe it was a shepherd or something legit. About 6 years ago, I got a phone call from this person and said they were the CRA. And this is way before we knew it was a scam. It was just at the very, very beginning. And he sounded very professional and said, oh, there's some things that you need to do, blah, 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 blah. And as we continued the conversation, I started going, this doesn't sound quite right. I'm not so sure. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to check into a couple things. Can you give me a phone number that I can call you back at? And he said, okay. So I took the phone number down and did a little bit of digging and then called the phone number back. And when you call a government line, and it's like press 1, 2, 3, 4. There was none of that. None of that at all. It was just, this is a CRA, leave a message. And I went, yeah, right. And so I was so glad that I had that intuition. And I believe that came from God of, no, press pause here. He may sound pretty good, but he isn't the real deal. And but you just come so close. People can sound like they've got it all together and they are representing who they say they're representing, and totally opposite, looking to take away from you. Right.
And so that's a scam. We've all heard of those things. But that's exactly what this is we deal with people, and they may not be even consciously going through it and trying to manipulate and control us.
True.
But that's essentially what it is. It is a scam because they're trying to take more than they're giving. Now the reality is we deal with people like this in our lives. We deal with shepherds and thieves in our lives as just the people we interact with. But the reality is that in the grand scheme of things, we have the shepherd, who is Jesus, and we have the thief, who is Satan and his minions.
Yeah.
And sometimes Satan and his demons, they sound very professional. They've got it all figured out. They know how to say it. They can give you the phone number. They seem appealing. We're drawn to them for one reason or another. But when it boils down to what they're trying to get from you is more than they would ever give you.
Yeah.
And they just want to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus wants to give you something. Which is crazy because he'll ask you for your life and he will give you more than your life. And that's the shepherd that we need to be drawn to, because he wants to give us life and give us life to the full. So what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to determine which is Satan and which is God? Which is a thief in our everyday interactions, and what is a shepherd in our everyday interactions? Well, number one, you check the resume. Do your homework. You hear something that's a little weird, a little sketchy, you've got a question, ask about it, dig about it, get some other perspective. See if it actually holds water, if it's actually true or legitimate or not. See if they're even willing to talk about it. If they're not willing to talk about it at all, and they are kind of manipulating and dancing around it, there may be some stuff there. Now, of course, you may be just talking about stuff that you have no business talking about. True. But most times you're like, well, where does the watch actually come from? I'm buying you this watch from you. Where does it come from? They go, that's a warning sign. Don't buy the watch, right?
Yeah.
Some stuff that you legitimately have a right to know about, and they dance around it. Check the resume, and that will help determine whether or not they are a thief or a shepherd. The second thing that we need to do is to check it with the Bible, right?
Absolutely.
Check it with what we know is of God. If they match what is of God, great, looking like a shepherd. If they don't match up with what is of God, chances are they're a thief. And no matter how appealing it is, they're going to take more than they give. Yeah. And so what do you do? Check the resume, do the background check. You need to make sure that you are avoiding and maybe even cutting out the thieves from your life. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that you look at the people in your life who are lost and need Jesus and you say, ugh, no, they're horrible people. I'm not going to interact with them again. There is a way to reach people who are lost without being dragged into the mess. And if you can pull people out of the mess, then you're having more influence on them than they are having influence on you. But if they're pulling you into the mess, and you're around a thief that is pulling you into the mess, then you're not going to be able to pull them out. You're not going to be able to save them. You're not going to be able to make that major difference in their lives because they're having more influence on you. And so if that thief is in your life, whether they're making you feel horrible or they're driving wedges between you and other people or they're just manipulating and taking more than they're giving, you need to start avoiding them and maybe even just kind of taking a break and cutting them out of your life and not giving them that place of influence. Third thing we need to do is we need to find the shepherds and we need to lean into them. We need to spend more time with the shepherds, the people that are going to invest in you, who are going to fight for you, who are going to care for you, who are going to listen to you, who are going to be honest with you. Those are the people that you want to spend more time with. And you need to make sure that even if they're not maybe the most popular person, that you are investing in those relationships, leaning into those relationships, into those people. And from the grand, big story side, it's the same thing. You need to cut out Satan and his demons. All those temptations that he's throwing at you, all those things that he's throwing in your way and trying to pull you and take from you, you've got to cut that stuff out. You got to cut him out of your life. And then you got to lean heavy into God. You got to lean heavy into Jesus and let him determine where you should be going and who you should be and how you should be living. Because when it comes down to it, the thief wants to take more than he gives, and God wants to give you more than he's going to take. Thieves come to steal, kill, and destroy, but the shepherd comes to give life and give it to the full. And that's why we need to recognize who's a thief and who's a shepherd in our lives. Now, I believe we've got a story here of a real-life example of this. Check it out.
Hi, my name is Avery Myers, and I'm a youth here at Amersfoort Wesleyan Church. I also volunteer in other areas, such as the worship team and kids ministry, and I was asked to speak to you today about why it is important to recognize who is a thief and who is a true shepherd. I am in high school. I'm a grade 11 student, and I have interacted with so many people over the years. I've had friendships with people, and some of which haven't worked out as well as I had hoped. But I've really just realized that there are some people who want to help you and support you and walk through life with you. But there are some people who just want to use you and push you down and stomp all over you and kind of throw you in the garbage when they're done with you, if that makes sense. But something that I've adopted over the past 3 years is that I've just tried to find myself a really great close group of friends. There are like 4 or 5 of us that we talk almost every day, and it is very apparent to each other that we care for one another and we would do anything for one another. We're here to support one another always. And we love to share our faith together and worship God with each other and do Bible studies together. And I've been so blessed with these people that have shown me what it is like to be a true shepherd and not to be a thief.
I have a maker. He formed my heart before even time began. My life was in His hand. He knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls, and He hears me when I call. I have a Father. He calls me His own. He'll never leave me. Where will I go? He knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls, and hears me when I call. He knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls, and hears me when I call. Hears me when I call.
Well, I hope that everything we've gone through today has been meaningful and helpful to you. And as a way to help you get even more out of it, we have put together 3 questions to help you either journal or have discussions with other people and allow this information and these thoughts to really dig deep into our hearts and our minds. Here are those questions. When have you been hurt by a thief? Who in your life would you consider to be a shepherd? How can you tell the difference between a thief and a shepherd? Well, as you take time to pray this week, we encourage you to pray for our First Impressions team. It is a real challenge figuring out how to make church welcoming with all of the restrictions. We got great people here, wonderful volunteers, wonderful people in our church, and the masks and all the restrictions make it difficult for us to express that and to show it and make people feel appreciated and loved and connected. And so be praying for our First Impressions team, because they're constantly trying to think up what can we do, what are we allowed to do, how can we stretch this and make sure that this is, but make sure this is safe but still engaging with people. And so be praying for them and the fact that they're right there volunteering every Sunday, trying their best to connect with people and to make it as smooth as an operation as possible. And so be praying for them, and be praying that when people come to our church and check us out, that they feel the love of God directly from Him, but also through us, because we want their first impression to not just be, oh, this is a cool church or these are cool people, but we want them to feel the love of God in us and in their time with us. And so we hope that you get time to pray about that. We are so glad that you joined us today, and hope that you'll join us again, whether that's online or in person in Amherst, which you can register for at www.amherstwesleyan.com. And one way or another, we want to say to you, thanks for being part of our church.
Hey, thanks for watching.
You can find out more about AWC, our programming for kids, youth, and lots of other resources at www.amherstwesleyan.com.
If you'd like more detailed information, to join one of our small groups, or to become an official AWC mobile site, you can email us at amherstwc@eastlink.ca.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
And we'll see you next week.